So we're going to go over a little bit of how EMS training, some information about it, which I realize is a little funny because there are a bunch of people in here who've taught for EMS training or worked up there, and then how these programs interact, or what you can do for the programs and what like people in the programs, or what they can do for you. So EMS training from rookie to retirement. Not quite recruit to retirement, but rookie to retirement, because we are with you from when you come out of recruit school all the way to your last recert that you try to squeeze in before you leave, whether it's keeping that CPR card so you can get that random job as a security guard at some school or something like that. So the first one we start off with, this is our current org chart, just because there have been some changes in EMS training recently. We have BC Huillet as our EMS training battalion chief. Then we have Captain Harrington in the back, Lily, sorry, as the EMS training captain. And then we have kind of the section is divided into three more sections. We all have, as you guys all know, the VCU paramedic program headed up by Donna Speaks, who is the program manager for that. Chuck Hickey, who is our advanced practice provider for our continuing education. And then Rebecca Nur, who's going to be the advanced practice provider or clinical educator for the intern program. That way, each of the sections up in EMS training has an advanced practice provider, whether an MP or a PA associated with it, who can be a subject matter expertise for knowledge-based scenarios, questions that come up, new research, that type of thing, and a resource to the officer who's in that class who's also focusing on a lot of the admin. So taking over from Lieutenant Wolfen is Lieutenant Christopher Lindsay. He will start up here on the 9th. He will have the biggest intern class that we have ever held. Lieutenant Kendall, who's next door right now, is heading up continuing education. He is also heading up and has taken over the AHA coordinator for the county. So he is now managing all things AHA. That's been passed off from Katie Locknane. So with Kendall, you've got Erica and Katie are the two technicians working primarily in that program. For VCU, you have Lieutenant Ali Najjar and Lieutenant Adam Williamson running the two cohorts of VCU that happen each year, with Phil Park and it should say Fry, not Frey, sorry, in that section. And then me and Lily are kind of floating off on the side. We are doing planning and coordination things. So basically I'm helping with the ALS intern or volunteer interns and other projects as assigned by Captain Harrington and Huillet as they need. So I'm kind of helping as well with all of the ride-alongs for the county and some other scheduling stuff. So the BLS lead program, currently that is under professional development, which I believe Ruth Ballard is going to be heading up the probationary manual and managing this aspect. But this is something that EMS should have a presence in. Right now, for the last couple of years, it's been primarily managed by professional development, which means EMS training and EMS in general has been a little hands-off. But this is where everyone's getting their base. So they start their BLS lead, their BLS lead occurs in quarters 2 and 3. So this is when you really want to be interacting with them, right? We all remember being that brand new EMT, and like most people in this classroom, when they came in the department, we still had EMTs. There are only a handful who came in when we went to the all ALS. So when you're looking at it like that, remember when you were the one who was like, no, you're up front. And there's someone driving you, whether they had years of experience or no experience. And you think you did the right thing, you're not sure if you did the right thing. Some ALS provider says, no, you got it, this is BLS. Be that resource for them. Grow them up, counsel them, not in, as we talked about on like last week, not in that negative way, but in the, okay, what can you learn from this, or how could you have changed that? Why weren't you comfortable transporting this if it was truly BLS? Or, no, I can understand why you weren't comfortable transporting this. That had some things that, make me a little nervous, or I would be a little concerned about. So trying to build on our brand new BLS providers who are basically going from, never having done this before, maybe to taking care of patients consistently. So think about the same type of things that we focus on with our ALS providers, but running drills aimed at BLS skills, running scenarios aimed at BLS, not ones necessarily where an ALS provider is going to come in and save a day, but one where the BLS providers can take the call from start to finish, and the ALS provider can just sit over on the side and practice something else, or they can help be part of the feedback or that continuum. These are the people we need to energize and put our focus and energy, or motivate, so that they're actually moving through the system and they say, hey, guess what? I want to go to medic school. So the next part in our system is the VCU paramedic program. We're now 10 years plus into this. We've graduated over 100 medics. Ooh, there we go. Over 100 medics from the program. Including people in this room. We're up to 2 cohorts a year. That's 22 this year. 22 BLS providers from our system are going to go through this program, up from, what was it, starting at like 8? Yeah. So, sorry, Lily. We are staggering them though to keep that small class size. That's really important for that group. As many of you who have taught in that classroom know, or have been taught in that classroom, they rely on teachbacks and group discussion. And when you put like this many people in that classroom for that long, you lose some of that individual contact with the students and the ability to let people be vulnerable, let them fail forward and make mistakes and grow for them. And it allows, like the large classroom allows people to hide. By having these small cohorts, we're able to make sure that we help the strongest candidate live up to their potential, and then provide the support so the person who showed at the beginning because they passed the entrance exams, help them pass and become a successful provider, right? In order to get in though, there are a couple of things. First, you gotta be a BLS lead. That's kind of a new requirement that we've phased in since we've gone back to having BL leads in the county. When there weren't BL leads in the county, you can't really enforce this, but now you have that. We want to make sure that before you come into the program, you are comfortable or at least met the county standard for providing care on your own as a BLS level. This does reduce one phase by 5 calls. We put those 5 calls have to be done somewhere else. So it's not a huge change in the program, but it does mean that we're having to take some attention away on, are you a competent BLS provider, to, okay, let's take you to a competent, an entry-level competent ALS provider. So that does have to be completed before you enter. When I say before you enter, that means that if you have an interested person in your battalion area, whatever they're called, and they aren't currently a BLS lead, but they will be a BLS lead by either the date of the first course or the second course, then they are eligible to apply. So someone who is not a BL lead today, but to put their name in the hat to be in the program, they technically could be in class 2, because class 2 doesn't start till like December, January time. So that is something to consider when people say, am I eligible, or is this right for me? The entrance process is basically 2-3 parts. First day is a FSDAP entrance exam, multiple choice test. It's got verbal reasoning, math, anatomy, and some EMT. So when you're asked about resources, the EMT textbook, some other good ones are Khan Academy, where you can do guided math through the levels. Math seems to be one of the things that really trips people up, and surprisingly, so does the EMT and anatomy. So just picking up the EMT book and the anatomy book can really help boost people's scores. Yes?
Those sections like the math, the EMP, or anatomy and so forth, do you have to score a certain amount in each section, or is it an overall grade?
It's both. There's like an overall grade, but also a passing for like each section. So it's kind of like averaged out. They end up turning if you get the minimums in each, it's still the average.
And that's because the FSDAP test basically says that if you can pass that test, and I can't remember the percentage off the top of my head, Bailey probably remembers, that you have a statistically high chance of being successful in a paramedic program. Our paramedic program isn't necessarily your typical one. It is compressed in terms of it's every day, so the length is shortened, so your processing time in terms of taking the information and getting to dwell on it for a week until you have your next class is kind of taken away. So this is based on programs across the nation, not necessarily our program for the passing. So that's why we have a level at which Donna's like, traditionally, if you've scored above this, you've graduated our program and you've passed National Registry. So if you're successful on that, you're invited back. We run a BLS practical scenario, and then you do a teach back. As I said, the class is teach backs, so we want to make sure that you kind of know what you're doing and you show the enthusiasm, right? Donna's very transparent about the teach back. They get the grading criteria. So you get the answer sheet given to you when you get to that point. The topic changes each year, they'll get the topic, but they come in and basically teach to a group of the instructors and present their topic. We're still doing clinicals down at VCU Health. Part of this, and a lot of people in this room know this, is that in order to get a contract to work with a hospital, it's a lot of legalese, and it goes beyond ANOVA saying, hey, yeah, we'd love to have you there, and VCU going, oh, we'd love to be there. It's up at the lawyer level, and lawyers don't like to change each other's lawyer information, both HCA and both ANOVA. So that's why the clinicals still remain down at VCU, is that neither HCA or ANOVA and VCU, none of the three want to have the correct conversation to make the piece of memorandum of understanding work, basically. So it is way above any individual's ability. So they are all down there. That is a great option. For those of you who've been down there, they are, their trauma center is constantly having, drop-off gunshot wounds and other traumatic issues. We're always getting the flashes saying, oh, this area is closed, or be careful in this area because of XYZ event. So they're definitely getting the acuity and patient numbers down there, even if it is kind of a hike. That is seen as the biggest downfall of the program to some applicants. They do get reimbursed for their travel, for their mileage, and for some overnights they do get accommodation to try and, mainly for safety. The overnight becomes a safety issue. We don't want people driving back at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and ending up on the side of the road because they didn't have anywhere to stay that night. And then clinicals are up here for as long as we can manage it. Right now, having planned a lot of ride-alongs for a lot of people in different sections, the fewer medic units we have, the harder it gets to put ride-alongs, interns, and students in spots.
Can they ride on the chaser or special?
No. And that's actually written into the Virginia Code.
Even if they ride along? Even if they ride?
Ride-alongs who are not students, they can.
Oh, I meant even if they ride along, like the special trailer gets off and rides in the hospital.
The code statement on the VA OEMS website isn't written like that. We have had some talks about whether we can clarify whether that's a possibility in the future. Huh?
Yeah, but then you can't. Yeah, you have to know because then COA, you don't want COA coming back and being like, that didn't meet the requirements and now they're short X number of hours.
Or they close your program.
Yeah.
You don't want that.
Yeah, no. So we are an accredited COAMS program as a satellite of VCU, and that accreditation happens every 4 years. So that's not something you want to jeopardize because you dove into a gray area to make something happen. Any questions about VCU?
And we are working on getting clinicals closer to hospitals. We're working on that right now, trying to get other hospitals involved.
All right, so the next stop then, once you've got your medic, is internship. In order to go to internship, you do need to have your Virginia EMTP. And that is a requirement per the IB to have prior to applying, unless you're a VCU student who is going to be finished up. VCU students are basically auto-enrolled in the next internship unless there's an extenuating circumstance. You also need to have all your merit badges. So that would include your ACLS, PALS, CPR, and your PHTLS. This is going to seem like a dumb question, but as the ALS Chase and EMS offices, where do those cards go?
Supposed to put them in Target Solutions.
Yeah. And the reason I say this is that we are notorious as a system. And I don't mean like as an individual, as an intern, BLS or ALS. As a system, we are notorious for either not paying attention to when this happens, like Virginia auto-enroll or renews my EMTB, cool, I'm good. And we don't change or pull those certificates. I take CPR and I don't hit the button that says, I would like to collect and activate my card. So if you take a merit badge course, you need to activate your card and get in the habit of downloading it and putting it on Target Solutions. It also means that you guys need to help advocate and get your providers to do that, because otherwise they're going to get to this point and they're going to be like, hey LT, I don't have an ACLS card. And I'm like, John's like, I know I taught you ACLS because like it was painful and we went through a full 2-day course. I taught you ACLS. Well, it turns out in the 5 times that we said, hey, did you get a cert? There was either a typo and they didn't get a cert, or they got a cert and they never hit activate. So those are the things you need to before you go in. Lily, come over here, please. So when they can start, as I said, VCU, they auto-enroll, so they're good for the next one. If you came out, if you got your medic while you were, before you got hired, you have to wait 3 months after you graduate recruit school in order to enter internship. The idea of this is that you're doing fire and suppression things and probing manuals before you end up being on a medic for an undetermined amount of time, 6 months being the minimum, right? Lily, again, please choose your people better. Down.
I think she knows.
I'm going to pick the 2 people who don't want me next to you. Yeah. All right. So how long is it? Internship.
6 months.
It is 6 months. Okay. The entire program is 6 months. It's 3 phases: phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. You have 2 preceptors for this
Duration.
Yes. Phase 1 and phase 3 should be the same preceptors. Phase 2 should be a different one, and ideally, the best practice is to make sure that that preceptor is somewhere else. So if you're at station 4 for 1 and 3, you need to go down to the highway or down to the mixing bowl. You need to be in some other place. This is the battalion chief's worst. Like, they hate this. They do not like. They want their person to stay in their battalion with their people. And I get it, right? You want accountability of your people. You want to see what they're going. You know, they're probably a newer member. You want to follow up on their training. The idea of this, though, is that they get a different perspective. We all know as a rookie at a station, or even just a person at a station, we have a certain belief about them and a set of views. We have to allow people to go and learn somewhere else, learn from different personalities. And then the county is really different. So it doesn't help if I run McLean every day of my internship and then a little bit of Tyson's maybe for the second part. I'm going to be running the same clientele. I need to learn as a provider, not just to teach not just to treat one population, but how to treat all populations. And I need experience of that with a safety net of a preceptor. So myself and Mark have fought very hard this internship around to make sure people are going all over the county so that they are not landlocked into one battalion and one mindset. So that is kind of some explanation about that. So when you're like some of the EMS captains who've been EMS captains for a while, you're like, hey, why did we not get to like any opinion in where these interns went? It wasn't we didn't want value or opinion, it was the one we had 24 of them, and 2, we were trying to disperse them all. So right now it is 6 months. You have the 3 phases, 2 months in each phase. They do workshops throughout the entire thing. We're running them on a flip-flop for the first 2 phases this go around.
They do scenarios up until the end of phase 2, and then they go into more critical thinking based clinical scenario, like verbalized sessions after that for the last set. This is, and hopefully I can be corrected if I misspeak on this one, there is an off-ramp, alternative pathway that is starting up this internship. For those students who went through as a Fairfax County employee, the VCU paramedic program, they are eligible to be considered for an off-ramp at the end of phase 2. They must have O&B approval and have successfully completed phase 1 and phase 2 testing and met all of the standards within. At this point, they will have to continue to come to the workshops for phase 3, but they will then ride as a solo provider on the medic unit without a preceptor. Clear as mud? So this relieves some staffing. It still makes sure that they get all of the knowledge and classroom-based information, and they don't get shorted on that because of a compressed time. But it allows for us not to have 2 ALS providers on a rig when we are stretched for providers.
Yeah, the philosophy is a lot of the elements of phase 3 are related to your time of employment in the organization, like knowing what to do if there's an equipment problem or an error or a mishap. And some of those could have already been covered and be aware around being a BLS lead. So we're trying to allow the clinical application of skills, yet still deliver on the objectives of the other component without being unduly limited.
So we'll see how it goes. So what can you guys do? Hot washes and paperwork. The GO, soon to be published in sometime in the next 1.5 weeks, does have all of the dates in which the hot wash paperwork is due. Currently that is to be signed by an EMS captain, but those dates are on there. Now, how many of you had hot wash paperwork when you went through internship? And how much time did you spend with your EMS captain? Winstead's shaking his head, 0. Right? Make that piece of paper worth something. The only people in this room who can make that worth something are the ones in this room. Add to their calls. Advocate, as I said, advocate for both your intern and your preceptor. We shouldn't be dealing with an issue in EMS training that for the first time that there's a issue between the preceptor and the intern because Hannah just didn't play matchmaker correctly. I'll blame myself, not Mark. It did not pay off. Kuntz and Bailey are not getting on. Every call there's a problem coming out of it. You should have been able to bear witness to that. And I don't mean that, Giddings goes in and he goes, what are you doing, what are you doing? But just like the fly on the wall observation. If you know you have interns in your area, add to their calls, watch what they're doing. Maybe the preceptor is missing something as well. We are using a lot of new preceptors now because we had to. You have a technician on the end of your name, you're probably precepting. That's the extent to it this time. So please try and make that paperwork worth it for both the intern and the preceptor, because we can fix things. If Kuntz and Bailey don't work right, then maybe I can put Kuntz with Winstead instead. And maybe that will be a better option. But if we don't know about it, we can't fix it. And neither the preceptor nor the intern deserves that heartache and mental struggle. Everyone deserves a chance at success. Both the new preceptor and the new medic. And I'm not going to be in the field every day, and nor is Lindsay, to be able to say, oh yeah, I see you really are having problems. But Lindsay's going to get an earful in there when he's like, my preceptor won't let me do this, my preceptor won't let me do that. Yes, sir?
It seems like there always was a problem, I felt, precepting people of not finding out what they could do better when they came back down unless they wanted to tell you that.
Yep.
That was always a problem. It seems like, I don't want to say problem now, but it still seems like a thing. It's a one direction.
A loop.
Yeah. I don't know, that was always a thing. I had a volunteer intern at one time that I didn't even know they weren't going to the
workshops.
Yeah.
No, it's a valid point.
That's not.
Well, that was
we'll notice that
earlier. That was a while ago. But yeah. I'm just saying, you don't get the feedback
No, that's fair. We can look at, and I'll talk to Billy and talk to Lindsay and see if we can find out how we can have it confidential, because there's some stuff.
Yeah, because, so the interns are also videotaping themselves when they come up here now. So you can actually watch your interns, how they're performing up here when they're doing the scenarios. So you may like, hey, you know, if you're noticing in the field that they're doing, you know, maybe their patient assessments aren't going so well, and then they come up here and do scenarios, and in our scenarios, their patient assessments aren't going so well when you're watching the video, like, we can start putting that together.
Where does that video live?
So they have, they all have an iPad.
So we would have to ask them for their iPad. Like,
Yeah, like, hey, can you show me how did your day go this week? Can I see your scenario? Because they're all doing a scenario up here.
And we can expectation set. We can work on setting a better expectation that if you're an intern,
well,
hey.
The other difficult part was people, like interns, were assigned to different people. So that's also challenging to get that feedback back to the preceptor. But that was always one of them. It's like.
And there's limited control over that. Like, I can't, you know.
Well, and you don't want to just throw everybody's information out there. Like, I don't want to look at another intern's stuff.
Going back briefly to the iPad thing, and rather than just saying it's available, it would be great if it was an expectation that it was periodically looked at together.
Hey, how was school today?
Yeah.
You know, this is game film.
And that's probably an expectation, like some expectation setting that EMS training can do with the next intern class to set the expectation that like you are recording not just for yourself, but so that you can review it with your preceptors, so you can review it with the ALS chase, so you can review it with the EMS captain. And maybe if we communicate that and like highlight it better, that they will be more open to it.
I know in the past too, adjuncting up here, I remember asking if they were recording, and it was usually like sometimes it was like yeah or no, I don't have to, or I don't have my iPad, or it's dead, or whatever like that. It was it was never consistent that they were like, yes, I'm recording all my scenarios.
No one has a dead phone.
There's definitely a goal and expectation and compliance with that hits barriers at times, and there'll be times that it doesn't go through. Yeah.
But that's something we can own and work on. Hey, I have charges. Whose iPads are dead this morning? There's a charger. Go plug it in. Like, because the beginning of every scenario day is some talking. So like, hey, we can charge it. Like,
give an hour and a half to give your iPad some charge. We play that game, it seems like every day.
Yeah.
And there's shared goals, right? So if you're involved in supervising somebody's growth and development, you should know how they're doing.
Right. I think we should. Again, not punitive. I don't want to look at other intern stuff. I shouldn't be like that's. So there's also like a privacy aspect for the interns as well. Like you've got to make sure that I'm just not going in there because I can. I'm going in there because I'm there to benefit you or.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and they should trust you. If you're their preceptor, like, they should be used to messing up in front of you. So, like, showing them how they messed up at the academy, and you didn't mess up. What are you talking about? Like,
you're learning.
Yeah, I think that's also on the personal relationship between you and the intern, right?
This is learning. This is not messing up.
Yeah.
I've always
You didn't make mistakes. Our mistake.
Culture. Right. No, this is the place. This is the
I know.
I want you to make mistakes here. Make your mistakes.
Yeah.
You know,
Please make
so.
What do you have?
Oh, I was just going to say, something that I do that may or may not be helpful. I always let them know, like, hey, a week from now, we're going to sit down with your 200. The paperwork has to be done. Start thinking about what you feel good about, what you feel like you need to, like, give them the buy-in.
Yep.
So when you meet with them, they know that you're coming, that you've thought about it, give them a tour to think about it. Hey, we're going to sit down and meet.
That your remind about just didn't go off, and you're like, oh, me.
Hey, I'm going to want some goals from you. I'm going to give you some goals from what I've seen, and let's work on this together. So that, because there's like 6 of them, so it's nice when you look back at the first one that you did to, the second one.
See
Hey,
the
this is what we accomplished here. This is what you wanted to accomplish. Did we accomplish it?
Yeah.
Sort of like an ER, I guess, in a way. But.
So we covered a lot on there. The only other thing I said is run scenarios with them. If they're coming back and they're struggling with scenarios, units have had out of service time up here to run some extra scenarios, or run them at the station. You've got a bunch of people there. set them up a scenario, say, hey, when you get back, we're gonna run, you're gonna run a scenario, and make it into a shift thing, or don't. If they need that quieter room, make it as a smaller one. Like, do a tabletop and have them talk it through. Take that extra time during the week to kind of help all of them be successful. As I said, there are 23 of them, sorry. They're going to primarily B and C shift, all but 2. So if you're going to A and B shift, all but 2 are going to C shift. So if you're on A and B shift, there are a lot of them. And they're interviewing, right? They're trying to get a spot somewhere. These are the people who are going to fill the vacancies. We want them to take the E-Tech test, right? We want them to go sit on the front seat of a medic unit. We don't want them to disappear into another position straight away. So supporting them and making them feel positive about EMS as opposed to burnt out by the end of that internship, like, that's something we can like hold a lamp to and like champion, and hopefully like be contagious about it, as opposed to, oh, it's internship, I gotta jump through this hoop. Cool on internship?
No. I just want to add, from this group particularly, there's something in the EMS credentialing manual that mentions a performance improvement plan. I don't want that to be a negative thing necessarily, right? People hear performance improvement, they think it's negative. When an intern receives below minimal standard marks in 2 or more consecutive days, the manual says they need to go through a performance improvement plan. So the first step of that plan is actually the EMS supervisor or the ALS chase person coming up, talking with them, giving them just maybe an email memo that just says, hey, we've noticed you've had some problems in these areas, how can I help? What we do as a plan to make you improve or be better on it. It's informal, it's not the written performance improvement plan that we're all used to. It's just a way to say, hey, we're focusing on these areas a little bit more because you seem to be having difficulty in them. That is also up for some objectivity, as maybe you're getting poor marks in area familiarization. And you're new to the area from California and you don't know where I-95 is, right? So there are some leeway or things to work with that, but we want to encourage that when we do identify some weak areas, that we are addressing them at an informal level from the EMS supervisor or ALS chase. And then if it continues to be a pattern, then it becomes more formalized, where we actually do performance improvement plan. And this is key, because when you come to us and say they're not ready to test, I'm going to say why. And if I don't have some sort of documentation that shows that there's need for an extension or for more focused energy, we're going to test them if we don't have that information. So hopefully that clears up a little bit. I know a lot of people are afraid to do it. We've asked EMS supervisors in the past to just simply send an email, take a visit, look at the intern, talk to them, and it hasn't happened. So we're hoping to fix that in the future, because we do try to assist as much as we possibly can.
Think like a personal trainer. Everybody's got a fitness plan of where they're trying to get stronger. It's not a bad thing, it's a plan.
And this is also, if this occurs, could mean that in phase 3, they will get to keep their preceptor in phase 3 to continue to make sure that they are successful at being paramedics in our system long term. Again, not punitive, just success planning, okay? And a lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to keep my preceptor in phase 3, that's very negative. No, we just want to make sure that they are successful in completing the program, not so much so about...
We don't want them to drown when they go off the deep end of the other.
Yeah, we're just keeping the floaties on, that's it. We know that they're going to swim.
So then for the rest of your career, you've got continuing ed, right? This is continuing ed. It's just, pushing you a little bit up. But this is the to retirement part. It gets a bad rep. No one wants to go to MSEP. They are currently working their brains, hands off to create a product that's engaging and interactive and meets both the requirements to get your CEUs as well as gaps that we have in our, that be noticed in terms of our service delivery that need training on. And Lieutenant Kendall and his crew and Chuck, they are, doing a lot of work right now so that they can create a product that is as enjoyable as mandatory training can be. So for those of you who've forgotten or don't remember, just a quick refresh, your EMT with Virginia, it expires it restarts every 4 years. And if you want to keep your national registry, you have to keep your national registry as opposed to the auto renewal of the EMT. So national registry is every 2 years. For paramedic, it's every 3 years for Virginia. It does auto renew. And again, if you want to keep your national registry, it's every 2, and you have to initiate it, whether it's you or your providers. 40 hours for EMT and 60 for paramedic. We provide 100%, Billy, 100% of CEUs for your category 1 during MSEP. That's half of your CEUs. So we provide half of your CEUs to all providers in person through the MSEP model. This isn't a reason for people to then freak out when they see that they're only getting half of them through MSEP. Others come through things like operations category, which allows things like hazmat to count, bloodborne pathogens, what else? There are a bunch of, I think you can even count ICS courses. There are a whole bunch of ancillary courses that technically count as EMS CEUs once in a certification cycle. So these things can be done through EMS training. The lovely FRD 4 that you signed every day here, that's how Bailey is giving you CEUs every day. I'm sure when Bailey, Chris, and Surzan went around in the specialist buggies, you probably signed some of their rosters then when they were doing training, because they were also doing in-station training and awarding you CEUs when they came over and, for example, reviewed the Kaleidoscope when that first came out. So you guys have the ability to help people towards their 40 and 60 hours by signing a roster and how, doing the training. There's also Vector Solutions. To me, that should be, Hannah's personal opinion, your last case scenario, as they are dry and boring and not necessarily the most up-to-date and best information out there, but it is an option for someone who has been unable to get them elsewhere. And other training. So, whether it's online resources like FoamFrat, IA Med, and the other platforms that offer accredited CEUs, some of which go straight to Virginia if you put your information in. So as I said, so for MSEP, what can you guys do? Make sure your providers go. There's nothing worse for EMS training than initially there's this huge front load and the rosters are completely full. And then it seems to have dropped off everyone's radar. So then you have the PM's canceled at the last minute, but someone's, Beth decided she's gonna come to a PM session, and now she's getting a phone call in the morning of saying, well, sorry, we canceled the PM because the field canceled, there's no one coming this afternoon. So we have this ebb and flow, we have this good amount of class enrollment, and then it drops off and gets really, really sporadic, and we end up canceling random classes, which isn't helpful for adjuncts, right? We have to make sure we have the appropriate staffing so you get the knowledge. And then at the end, there's everyone who's I didn't get anything. And so suddenly you have this mass enrollment again, which means, again, when you have 500 people in a classroom, gross exaggeration, you're not gonna have as good a learning experience. So kind of paying attention to who's been to MSEP. Hey, I think you've already been to MSEP, Mark, but you're scheduled to go again. Can you switch with, Jody so Jody can go to MSEP today? Those type of things, as opposed to people sitting over in the break room over here or working out in the gym for 4 hours because they've already been to MSEP and don't need to go again. It's kind of paying attention to who's been or who hasn't. And the other thing, as I said before, is the merit badges. If we were about to teach PALS, PALS coming up next year. Cool, have they done their PALS online course? Great, because what do they need to come to PALS? What's your ticket to PALS? The piece of paper right? The pre-course cert, you need the piece of paper in hand. Okay, cool, they did that. They went to PALS. How many rosters do you sign for PALS? 2. You sign 2. You sign one for AHA. That allows Billy Kendall to give you your AHA card, and you sign another for the fire department that says you came to MSEP, and that will then get your CEUs put in for Virginia. So you need to sign 2 rosters. If you only sign the FRD 4, you will not get a PALS card. All of our PALS cards are sent out by email. So you should, within 2 weeks of taking your PALS course, have a PALS activation code in your email that you can then activate. Sometimes they go to your secondary mailbox, so pay attention. You need to accept that. Make sure your providers are doing that after they attend a session, okay? If they don't receive one, and I'm like, hey, I didn't get one, did you get one? You got one? We went to the same PALS. That's when you need to reach out to us, because to err is human, and typos happen, or line skipping happens, and we can go, oh yeah, you were there, sorry, we spelled your name, email wrong, here you go, and resend your card. Don't wait for 5 months later when you need it for a promotional test and don't have your test. Lily, come here, please. Yeah.
And a lot of that stuff, right, when you go on the Virginia OEM, like I have it on my phone, you can see what you need.
Yep.
Because I know when I was at 11, I would tell the guys, keep track of what you got, and then we can do a quick drill in the morning to get your hours up if you're missing something, right, to kind of relieve some of the stress of.
And we're going to go over that in 1 second, and you're completely correct. No, it's a really good point.
It's maybe the wrong, I don't know necessarily for this, but this is
Lily.
Because the people that are EMS captains right now, are you still scheduling everybody's MSEP? Because it's very dependent by it's supposed to be, yes.
They did give it to the deputy, because I
I know.
the spreadsheet.
But some places where the battalion chiefs possibly, or whoever else is still asking, like the EM saying, send an email, like, get with the EMS captains, or
I mean, they asked us to have, there are 6 different fire departments.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But pay attention, right? You can still, just because you don't have to officially do something doesn't mean you can't pay attention for your people.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But we're leaving it at that, right? It's
whatever your
WDA level.
And then who knows what that WA does? Do they put it off on the BC, then the BCS, I know on C shift, between the 2 of them, they have a big Excel spreadsheet, and they ask the BCs to figure out how it gets on to telestaff with assistance, but they make a big scheduled spreadsheet for MSEP. I don't know about A and B shifts, I can speak for them.
So
one thing about MSEP too is a lot of times we'll hear, I'm fed on my CEUs, I don't need to go. That's not correct. MSEP isn't a requirement. It's a general order. It's a requirement from our medical directors to verify that you're maintaining your skills. And individual.
I don't know. It's a system related concept.
It's a system related concept.
Yeah.
So Adam was talking about CEUs at the station, right? So you're completely, like what you're saying is spot on, right? I know that my cert expires in less than a month, and I am short like 3 credit hours of whatever. Obviously, am I probably going to do 3 credit hours in one go at the station? Truthfully? No, right? Unless you have out of service time for a 3-hour EMS drill, which if you manage to pull that off, please invite me because that's funny. Then you're probably going to have to split that up. I think, what is it, 55 minute, 50 per hour? Yeah. Per Virginia Office of EMS, it's 50 instructional minutes with a 10-minute break for every hour CEU. Falsifying CEU records per the Virginia code, if you get caught doing that, any part of doing that, you will lose your license. So it's not like a county level thing. If the the Commonwealth finds out about it, you lose your license, you are then unable to regain your license. They will not give your license back if you falsify CEUs. You're done. So just bear that in mind when you say, I did a 3-hour drill, and you're like, hey, EMS training only credited me for 1 hour because they looked at what you wrote. So on the FRD 4 on the back, it says you need to put your teaching topics. This is so we can prove to the state what you did. This is your lesson plan. So be honest on it. I would rather that we have to put in ones that you've done every single day of the shift that are for like 20-minute drills and giving you, you know, a third of an, or however much of a third of an hour, like for each one, than you bend things and be putting higher numbers when that really wasn't what was given. So you're going to fill out an FRD4, make sure it's completed and signed. You have the lesson plan on the back. The Con Ed area and content assignment, this QR code up on the top right, this takes you to the Virginia Office of EMS webpage for CEUs, and there is there's a sheet or drop-down PowerPoint that shows you how Virginia awards credits. It's not as straightforward as you would think. A lot of topic matter actually ends up in medical. They are very specific about what credits are for airway, cardiac, and trauma. Trauma, they're have a little bit more leeway than the National Registry guidelines would say. They'll award for more. National Registry says these topics, and if it's not these topics, it's not trauma. So if you guys want to copy that, that's really beneficial. If you do have the provider, like Adam said, where they're missing a certain thing, that you can make sure that the training you deliver is actually going to give them the CEUs you think you're giving them. Because once you send that FRD4 to EMS training, they're going to look at the master sheet of CEUs, and they're going to compare your lesson plan, and they're going to say, oh, this meets airway, or this meets operations, this meets trauma, or this meets EMS, but it doesn't meet one of the category 1 requirements, so you're going to get category 2 instead. Like, it's still an EMS drill, it just didn't really meet one of these specific characteristics. Everything delivered in MSEP meets one of the category 1 requirements and fits into one of those boxes. So that's when you look at your CE reports or someone else's CE report, you have the category 1 into specific things, and then you have category 2, and that's overflow from your category 1, and then it's category whatever random topic. Like, you'll see those a lot when you go to conferences and there's like a topic on like that's EMS related, you'll see them end up there. No, ma'am.
Yeah, when we first had
Sit down, please.
PS Tracks roll out, people were turning in 8-hour rosters for PS Tracks training.
But it take you 8 hours.
It'll take you 8 hours. Gotta get it somehow.
So the last point on here, CEUs have to be submitted to the state within 15 days. That means that the EC has to type in their password into the computer system and upload the scanned in roster within 15 days of that training. So that means if you are doing rosters, you should be sending them like in the next 24 hours. You don't want to wait 2 weeks to send your roster because you're probably not going to get the CEUs, because there is no dedicated CEU scanner in EMS training. It is, oh, you don't have MSEP today? Can you do the scanning of all the rosters that came in? Like, it's assigned to people who have other roles. So it's not that their sole role is EMS CEU scanning from the field. So there is going to be a lag time there. So please, if you want the CEUs to count, make sure you're being timely with your credits, unless you're Bailey and you do them yourself, or Paul. Any questions on that? I'm nearly done. So how else can we help you? We do have a lot of mannequins up here. We are trying to inventory them again right now. And we have training props. Those are things that you can request. Maybe you do have that new rookie or that intern and you need something for a scenario. You can place a request to EMS training. If it's a very high dollar value, we're probably gonna put a Apple tag on it to locate it, and you're gonna sign it out, currently through an e-form, go and use it, be responsible for it, and bring it back to us. So if there are things like that and training props you need, reach out and request them so that you can make your drill how you need it, as opposed to using in-date supplies that are from your, from your actual stock to make a drill. Like if you need a patient, make a patient, grab, we can give you a mannequin, you good? If you need an airway trainer, request an airway trainer. Same goes for demo dose. Demo dose is within reason, right? Don't ask for 25 solumedrol because the answer will be no, because the demo dose vials of solumedrol cost $25 a piece. But if you need an epi that you can then refill with water each time for each of the drills that you're going around a station, say, hey, I need like one of this, this, and this to run a drill, and that's something we can probably arrange for you to have so you can run a drill properly, and we're just talking about this next door, and not have that really awful mindset of, you gave the adenosine, right? Cool, you got an IV and gave the adenosine. That was like 5 seconds. I know Nate's good medic, but 5 seconds is a pretty like quick IV start, right? So if you need supplies like that so that you can run a call in real time and have the EMT who's never done the, pop, connect, they don't have that tactile practice with the medications, like request them so that you can run the scenario in real time and get that proper feedback and those proper reps. Lily, I can't believe it, really. Come on. So we can get those for you. And then we can also be a sounding board or a resource. We do have 3 advanced practice providers up here. I know you have Dr. Dan and Dr. Weir. They also have their full-time hospital jobs on top of it. We have 2 PAs, hopefully a 3rd PA, and MP down the hall. They're a wealth of knowledge. If you want to discuss something, use them as a sounding board. They're there to talk to you, whether it's, you want them to come out in the field. I'm sure a whole bunch of them would love a field trip outside of this building. And then we are also a resource for you. Like, this should be a team effort. You guys are all, whether you want it to be or not, trainers. You're all educators now. Sorry. So we're here as a sounding board and a resource so that we can work as a team. Our message should be the same. We shouldn't be teaching one thing in EMS and one thing in interns, and then you guys shouldn't be teaching something different. We should all be on the same page. It shouldn't be, well, I know EMS taught it like this, but that's not how we're going to do it.
And people also, in fairness, hear different things in different settings. And so, Dr. Weir and I both feel strongly, if there's a question, and sometimes just pick up the phone and call. And any time that we can clarify, communications can be hard. And so we want to make sure that we make it as easy as possible to have consistent, appropriate message.
One of the cool opportunities is to leverage successive repetition, because that's how we learn and that's how we forget. So if you cover something at MSEP and then the crew comes back next tour, hey, I'm going to MSEP, what did you guys cover? And I'm asking, I know what they covered, but having them tell me what they covered gives them an opportunity to go back to that knowledge, retouch it again, and it translates it from short-term into long-term memory. So you can go to each station and have that same question, even though they've told you each place each time. Helping on that is good, both for interns and for existing providers.
Yes, sir.
For your own, just for us, this group here, for the ride-alongs that come into the county, we have a ton of requests, and there's requests from the hospitals, from other external agencies and partners. You guys are kind of the first line of, hey, when you send the request to Hannah, she'll pick the respective EMS soups and the ALS specialists, EMS specialists rather, for those folks external to our organization to ride with you. So it's an awesome opportunity to be ambassadors for our agency, but it's also an awesome opportunity to showcase your skill set and your knowledge to these people who may not be familiar with our agency or what we do. So you guys are the first line that we send these external ride-alongs to. And Hannah knows all that.
I'm going to talk about that in 1 second. So last thing on here to finish up Con Ed, adjunct. 1, you get continuing education hours for it. 2, you guys are in these positions because you were selected based on, your knowledge and your expertise and your history. And, if you have the time and bandwidth, come share that in the classroom capacity or in the scenario capacity. We're always looking for engaged adjuncts, so if you're interested, please come and do that. And that also helps us all be on the same page. The other thing is that if you're seeing things out there, yes, of course, use formal channels to report stuff, but if you're like, hey, like, I keep seeing no one is ever giving Zofran for nausea with belly pain, and I keep looking and it's just never happening, like, we might want to touch on some asymptomatic care at MSEP or in one of the trainings, because I work detailed somewhere else, and then I work callback, and I keep seeing this trend. Like, if there are trends you are seeing, we may get them if it came through QA/QI, like it's something that they were tracking, but some of the other things we don't see. And so if you're noticing things that need to be addressed on a system level and maybe can be incorporated in the CEUs that we're giving formally, like, channel them up or have those informal conversations with us, so that might be something that can be incorporated next time around. Because of course you can't address everything, but training can't address things that it doesn't know about. So, and then the last thing before lunch, ride-alongs. Rocco and Barb kindly let me poach ride-alongs from EMS Ops. This came out of the fact that there were a lot of VCU students to schedule last year, and we were having conflicts between them, the EMT students out of the high school program, the EMT students out of the downstairs program, and then all of the other ride-alongs. So I have now become the central point of contact for all ride-alongs, both internal and external. So if you have a layperson who wants to do a ride-along, they do need to complete an FRD 276 ride-along agreement. They basically say why they want to do this, what they're trying to get out of it, where they ideally would like to go, and some dates that they would like to do this on. They then forward that to me. I then talk to Hartman or Hartman's replacement, and unless they are from pretty much the hospital systems, they will have to complete a employee U ride-along HIPAA course. So even if they did EMT just recently, they still have to complete that. That just covers us for, legally in terms of HIPAA. Once they do that, I communicate with the SICPOs and we get them scheduled there. If they're external, usually they're going to be riding with one of you guys. So either an EMS captain or an ALS chase. There are a couple of exceptions, but they're kind of the exception, not the rule. The idea of that is if they're with you, they're with a subject matter expertise, they're with someone who can supervise them the entire time, right? They're a layperson, they may not have, or they may be a layperson, they may not be a healthcare provider. We have people from admin who ride, we have completely, board of supervisors, hospitals, people who are interested in the career but have no idea and just want to see if this might be a good fit for them. So you're their safety net as well. So that's why they're with one person as opposed to necessarily on a rig. I have a meeting. The next one we've got is EMT students. So volunteers, they're good to go. They can ride as EMT students if they are enrolled in the EMT program that happens after hours at the academy. Career. They're also good to go. They get scheduled by basic training and they do their hours. If they're external, there are no current, I'm waiting for him to tell me I'm wrong right now. There are no current, no there is, the high school one. Oh, yeah. I forgot, sorry, we just have this thing. There's one current MOU. In order for students to ride in student capacity, there needs to be an MOU, so that is wrong, now I say it. The only MOU we currently have for EMT students is with the Fairfax County school system. This means that if you're an EMT student, whether it's in-state, if we don't have an MOU, you cannot ride as a student in this county. If you are a student out of state, per Virginia Office of EMS regulation, you cannot ride at all. It has to be a program that is acknowledged by Virginia Office of EMS. So the only external candidates right now riding are those with the county high school system.
Fairfax PD and CIA are very close together.
Yes.
So.
Paramedic students. Sorry? Under Fairfax, under VCU. So paramedic students, of course, the in-house VCU program, that is because VCU has an MOU with Fairfax County allowing them to ride. So they're good to go. And then currently for external, you have to have, as I said, an active MOU and a GO. So the VCU program also has a GO. If you noticed, before they came out to the field, there's a GO that said these VCU students will be riding in the field from this period of time. There has to be a GO per our credentialing manual and EMS regulations to say that so-and-so is a student with XYZ program from this date for this date. They are authorized to ride as a student during this period of time. They also, per state requirement, must have an ID or something on them that visibly shows that they are a student. VCU, you see them wearing their red shirts, right? But they should at least have a drop down or something that acknowledges the fact that they are not a full provider. They also are not allowed to, and this is per Virginia Office of EMS, not per HANA and not per EMS training or per the county. Per the Commonwealth, they are not allowed to be in minimum staffing. So they must be in that third capacity or extra capacity. The other one is you can't have 2 students on 1 unit. So that's just something to pay attention to, especially at the volunteer stations where there's a, like VCU sent a student there and then a volunteer decided to ride along as well. No double students, okay? Currently our active MOU for an external program is AEC, right? That one's good, yeah. AEC is good, but that is good for both the volunteers and the career, but that individual needs to have had a conversation with the department so that they can be on a GO in order to make that GO, make that active. Yes?
Should they be reaching out to you for this sort of thing as well? Like a volunteer, if you're at a volunteer house and they walk up to you and they're like, can I ride with you? Should I be like, could you check with Hannah just to make sure like we get it?
As which level?
Volunteer EMT students.
They are good. As long as you don't have anyone on there, if they're an EMT student, they are good to ride.
Okay.
Does he need proof that they're an EMT student, or is it?
That one is not addressed anywhere, to be honest.
I want to ride with you.
And that's,
do you have an answer, Dr. Weir?
We've had people in the past claim to be in
Yes.
class that weren't in the class.
they just started. That would make sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm thinking I might take the class.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. I don't know, because I don't really have a way of checking unless I go through there.
Yeah, their chain.
And some of that can be challenging.
I mean, I can always check for you. I have privileges, so I can see who's in their class, and there are others who do. That one I don't. You have an opinion, yeah.
So if they are in an EMT program, then they have paperwork for evaluating their performance and documenting their application of skills. If they can't produce that for you and you haven't been briefed around that and you haven't been approved or blessed as an examiner, evaluator for that program, then I would forward that to Hannah, because that's not likely appropriate.
I like your rationale. They should have some of that.
You don't want to.
No, but that would help.
It's not just let me come rubberneck and watch what you're doing.
And they should come to you with that aspect. They do, though. Volunteers do also have the capability, though, to ride as a observer. So that's why I have the caveat there.
File them under the layperson because they're riding in the role of the layperson. They're not applying skills or doing assessments. They're basically observing. It goes that path.
So they can, on their does that make sense? On their volunteer management system, they are only allowed to sign up as certain things based on their qualifications. So you can sign up as an observer.
And then, very
niche,
so long, and hopefully it's never having a problem, but this could be challenging for some people working with it. I had a very close relationship with their hierarchy, so it's easy to ask and just verify. But
and I can bring it up with Marshall and see if there's
it would be
some way that we can make it more identifiable for EMT students from that system to be
I like Dr.
acknowledged.
Saying the way to check with the EMT student, especially the skills, they should have some sort of documentation that they give you at the beginning of even the ride time. Just be like, hey, these are the things I need to do or observe.
And that is actually on for the paramedic GOs. That's on there.
And if I was in your position and I was hit and this doesn't seem entirely right, my default would be to contact and ask.
Jody, did I misspeak on any of that?
No, what I was going to say is just volunteer leadership. I know the volunteer chiefs, they don't cut anyone who needs to ride supplemental until we're sure that they're not a raging idiot or aren't gonna, you know what I mean? Like, seriously. They should reach a certain level of progression in their EMT class before they're cut loose to ride supplemental, and often we maintain them on volunteer legs up until almost the end.
Yeah. The big one is there should be no paramedic. The big one is there should be no paramedic students operating in the field without without the ability for you to look at a piece of paper titled GO that has their name on. Like, that is the really big one. So, any questions on ride-alongs? Oh, sorry.
Not on ride-alongs.
No, it's fine.
Question. What's the plan for advanced cert continuing education?
Yes.
Yes.
What's the plan? She talks a lot about EMT and like National Registry paramedic, but for this group specifically, what's the plan for advanced cert education?
John's not in the room to speak to that or that, but I can speak philosophically. We share the objective of maintaining your continuing education and assisting you in having the knowledge and skill set to step into this role consistently over time, and also develop those people who seek to aspire to fill this role as well.
I highly suggest joining me in Florida next year in Orange Beach. It's a lot of fun. It's a really good conference.
So I believe, look at the IDFC, if anything that's not your basic hours, so anything that, if basic hours and basic paramedic skills can be counted towards your IDFC certs, and it's from a organization that certifies those hours, right? So any of us who have a VA OEMS education coordinator, we can certify and say, yes, these hours are beyond normal paramedic, scope, and not part of like ACLS, things like that, and we can give you documentation.
That's a recognized extension of the house that we are working through. Like, we know we're going to do it. I just can't tell you what it's going to look like because there's a number of different post-it notes on the wall that we're entertaining and batting around. Some of them incur cost, some of them incur, can we get a number of people through per unit time so that don't overpromise and underdeliver. But we recognize that as a need, I'll say a need, and we want to step in and fill that need.
Just, we're like, if we're doing anything that is outside of the normal continuing education like you would get for MSEP, right? Just remind us so that we can make a cert and then associate it with a set of hours and a course number, so that if they ever come back and say, hey, prove that you did this, we can say, yes, it's associated with this course number under, my education coordinator or abilities or whatever it is.
And if there's a cadaver lab or some sort of advanced meeting with Dr. Weir, John and I will both be chase vehicles, so we can take your place for the day while you go to training, so you don't have to incur overtime.
Okay. Philosophically, I think I can say this, that's definitely my position on the issue, is that the effort to accomplish the objective of training hours, anything that's we're offering internally, should not be a patchwork quilt of different course numbers. It should be under one course number heading that has a deliberate and intentional lesson plan over time to cover the different domains of advanced care paramedic.